G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be doing 3 Daisyween illustrations for you today. I'll give you a quick kind of rundown on what that is before we get into it. I've also recorded this already, so I'm going to live react to it as it's playing. I've done this a couple of times before. I'm not really good at the live reactions, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to talk you through it. The first one we're doing is a striped whipper-tip. That is a really unusual word. If you're only hearing about Daisyween for the first time, it's a couple of things combined, really. It's an art prompts list, but I'm actually working straight into a book that we published through Amazon that is available on Amazon, so that anyone who wanted to do it along with me, we could illustrate straight into the book with the prompts, so that at the end of it you would have a children's book that was fully illustrated by you. So that was the project. It's something I wanted to do years ago, but I couldn't figure out how to manufacture it. So this Amazon KDP thing, like the self-publishing route, seemed like the easiest and most affordable way to get it into people's hands, rather than struggling with independent manufacturing like I do with many of my other items. But with this particular book, it just got really expensive really quickly. And it's not one of those things that I feel like is a huge, I don't think it's on many people's radars to do in October. I think a lot of people do challenges, but actually trying to illustrate a full book, that's a big challenge. So I felt like, this is the safest and easiest way for everyone to get involved. And I love people getting involved in this because Daisy as a character is nondescript. She has a few kind of details or a few elements to her that make her up, and they are glasses. And we've kind of simplified these over the years too. I think it used to be big round glasses. Now it's just glasses, bows, freckles, and scalloped details, like scalloping, like fish scale kind of shapes. As long as the illustration doesn't even have to have all of them really, it's really just a prompt to get you going. But I kind of like to look for each of those details in everyone's piece just to see how one person's Daisy looks different to another. And originally, I thought it was just a really good way to it just display how everyone's imagination was going to think up something different, and to really celebrate how different people were in how they interpreted that kind of prompt. So the original one years ago, it was just a story about all the kind of crazy things that Daisy did, and like the stories that she would tell. And they were prompts that were kind of prompt passages. So it was like a little, I wouldn't even say a riddle, but like it was a full-on sentence that you would have to illustrate. And we had many people get involved in that. We even made books about that one. Those books are long gone now, but who knows, maybe they'll come back in the future. Never make any promises I can't keep. But that was the original. Then she did a Daisy's travel journal, I think we did a couple years ago. I didn't even finish all of that one. Again, they're all just prompts to get you going and having a good time. And this year it is Daisyween, which is Daisy's version of Halloween. And the story is kind of simple. She's just figuring out what she wants to wear for Halloween. So all of these prompts are different costume ideas that she might have. And they're intentionally written. I wanted to go for a bit more of a Dr. Seuss style, like very nonsensical. I wanted it to be really fun to read, and I wanted the words to be kind of tongue twistery and really stupid sounding, so that when you read it, hopefully in my mind, like when I read it to my nieces and nephews, maybe they'll get a kick out of not only the way it's sounding, but like even the illustrations that they're looking at. I hope that they're really visually appealing, and the fact that she kind of looks different every day is something that appeals to my own kind of the way I like to approach art. I feel like I change styles every 2 seconds, and it's something that I really love. I think I have more of like a concept art approach to art and illustration. Like I just want to explore every avenue, and I have just an insatiable curiosity about how it could be done differently, or what elements I could change to make it look cuter, or more fashiony, or more wild, or more imaginative. And like I think I'm always just exploring that. And so Daisy, again, like most with everything I do, is just kind of setting myself up for a success with what I want to do. I imagine, there was a time where I thought Daisy would look like one certain thing, and that I would teach people how to draw her, and then we would all kind of, the imagination would kind of come in with like the setting that she's in, or maybe the clothes that she's wearing. Maybe she'd change her clothes, but I couldn't even fathom sticking with one thing for that long. And this being, the third full prompts list for her, I'm so glad that it's just those details, and she can be anything. And we've ended up with really insane stuff like throughout the community. I share a lot of it on my Instagram. In fact, for Daisyween, I've got some highlight stories on my profile where you can go and see tons of different people's versions of the same prompts, the same daisies, just completely different interpretations. And these ones we started out with, I did a whole bunch. It took me a long time. So it was actually really difficult. This particular story was really difficult just because of the way I wanted to do it and the rhyming structure and how I wanted it to be like really Dr. Seuss-like. I had a hard time counting out all the syllables every time I wrote something new. So anyway, we've been through all that. There's a whole blog post on how Daisyween came to be this year as well, with like every bit of working that I did from concept to like final books and everything. So that's on my blog. I'll put that in the description as well. We are zooming through this. I've got to start talking about the piece in a minute. We just missed the striped whipper tip. Anyway, you saw there was just lots of stripes on it. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. In any case, it's been fun. I'm really happy and excited to be doing this. Oh yeah, I'm glad that I didn't stick with one particular style. You can see how many people interpret Daisy, and I really appreciate that. You know, it's really diverse, but it's also very personal. I think you get a really good look at the artist when they're given just a few things to use in their interpretation. I feel like it's good enough to prompt people into it, but it's still very open to be able to see exactly how that person sees it. And I just love that. And I love that people get so involved in it and that feel like they want to share. We share in the Facebook group as well. We share kind of everywhere. Obviously, I'm sharing here 3 with you today. I've decided to share, pardon me, a few in advance just because some people like to have a bit of an idea about what's going on. When I put all the prompts together originally, this is what I wanted to say, they were very, very nonsensical. There are still some of those in here, but you can see like some of them. This, a bulbous porble on a Gremmy norble. Gremmy came from gremlin. I started adding different little leading kind of, it's like half a word in there just for some of the prompts that seemed a little, not even the wildest ones, honestly. I think I took every other one and just made them a bit more leading because they were so open. I wanted people to at least have something to latch onto. Having said that, we did Chichazoon. I think it was a Chichazoon, and a lot of people did chickens, and I didn't even think that chicken was in there. So some of them I did not change, but people found interpretations anyway that like many people found. I thought that was pretty funny. The snizzle one, a small spotted snizzle, I think a lot of people took that to be sneezing because some people had like tissues and like she was sick. That is fascinating to me. It's just so funny because I came up with these things. I didn't see those things, but a bunch of other people collectively, without having talked to each other, pulled that same kind of inspiration from it. So I'm endlessly fascinated by that. Obviously, I get to enjoy that because you share it all with me. But go check out the Instagram, especially those little highlight stories. I'm trying to repost every single Daisyween post I find and put them in the highlights as well. We're already up to our 2nd highlight story, and I think I'm going to have to start a 3rd soon. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. Let's do a bit of a live reaction. This is, like I said, a bulbous porble on a Gremmy norble. So gremlin, I tried to do a bit of gremlin ears on what is now looking like, it's Asgard, right? From The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe? Nope, The Never-Ending Story. It's The Never-Ending Story one is the one I'm thinking of. I don't really know what his name is though. Asgard, I think, is from, I don't know either of these movies. Sorry, I've seen them. I saw them a long, long time ago. Don't really remember them, but he looks like that. He looks like a baby version of that. It kind of looking like very Neopetsy as well. Does anyone remember Neopets? And I decided to make her look bulbous I should say. Because I was thinking bulbs, but I didn't do a light bulb. I was kind of already drawing. My process for this is to kind of draw out whatever's coming to me first, and then I let myself erase through the whole thing. You'll see that I'm constantly just fixing things or refining things or erasing a whole thing and starting again. I have not gone into any of these with a plan of what I'm doing. I kind of let it evolve as I go. So sometimes that leads me to making really interesting choices about how I'm going to fit something in if that idea doesn't come to me until, 10 minutes in. I don't really need to start with an idea. I think I just start with a style in mind, and then I just go towards that. Like if I want it to be kind of cutesy like this one, I wanted her to be a little chubby in this one because it was bulbous, and she ended up with Muppet eyes on her head. I don't know where that came from, but Gremmy norble, definitely the gremlin ear inspiration there, and that was kind of as much as I got into it. I mean, I put the bow, I put the freckles, that was it. She had, goodness, I've forgotten my own Daisy, glasses, freckles, bows, and scallop details, I believe, is the mixture. I have the book here. Let me just, it's in the book. It's also on websites and everything. Like, it's everywhere. There it is. Bows, glasses, freckles, scalloping. Goodness me, you'd think I'd know after all this time. This one is perhaps a pipperquip, and I didn't have anything in mind for this one except, well, shouldn't say that. I did. I had something in mind, but it wasn't because of the word leading me to think that. This pipperquip was just nothing. It was one of those random words that just kind of fit with the story. But I went to, what's it called? The Lamplight Lounge. I saw a crow out there. I honestly thought it was a monkey on the roof. I love monkeys. I don't know why I thought it'd be a monkey. It was moving really weirdly. Anyway, the Lamplight Lounge at Disney's California Adventure. Down the bottom, they have a little maquette of the short film. I think it's called Pip. In my head, it's called Pip. So that's what I was thinking of, that little bird maquette, that tiny little, I don't know if it's like it's not a pigeon. What are the ones at the water? The seagulls? I don't really know what type of bird it is, but it's kind of round and short and like dove shaped. So that was what I thought, but I wanted it to be kind of wrapping over her. And I also wanted to draw a profile. Those were the things that were in my head as I started to draw. I started to draw them, and I also wanted it to be a really exaggerated, like humongous head, tiny body type thing. I think, I really liked how it turned out, but I think the issue with this, and I don't need to critique it, but just in case you're looking for a bit of critiques, they do go through my head from time to time. I think because you couldn't see much of her body, she has really ambiguous proportions because the head is so oversized. It kind of looks like she should have a much bigger body, obviously, but you can't see enough of it to know that I intentionally made it small, because essentially her feet are inside those wings and she's kind of walking the wings. I don't know how logistically this would work. That's not the point of the costume. So I just kind of roll with it. You see a bit of a light change there. I filmed this over the span of, I think, a couple days. I also have 3 more of these coming up as well in another video. I didn't want to give you too much ahead because I don't want to put too many ideas in your brain. I want you to be able to have something to work with if you're stuck for ideas, but also I love seeing what you come up with when you're just coming up with them. So I'm kind of doing the best of both worlds here. I wanted to share the process with you, but I didn't want to give you too much leading. It's just a whole mess how I make all these decisions. And then I put the ribbons on the back. I like this kind of lace detail. It's kind of monotonous, but it puts you in that bit of a flow state, just doing the crossing back and forth and everything. It's something that I add wherever I feel like I have a seam that I just want to add more detail to. So there's a bunch of my pieces this year that have that, although it did turn it into looking like a football. I put little teeth in its mouth because I thought that would be funny, but then I changed them to make them look more like rabbit teeth. But yeah, I think my only critique is it's a bit of an ambiguous proportion. I think if you saw more of her body, it would work. I tried to put a hat on her. It didn't really work, but I thought I wanted to put more detail on the top of her hair. I thought it was too open, so I put a beanie instead. And then all that ribbing texture made it look a little bit more interesting for me, which I liked. I wanted her to have a lot of detail, but the bird, the pipperquip, not to have much detail. Just to be really big, bold shapes. Sometimes in my head, I imagine that Daisy really did make the costume, and then sometimes I imagine that it's just how she is, like the costume just kind of formed around her. I don't have any specifics with you know, the logistics of Daisy's world. I think, you know, like herself being different and transformed into something different every day in a new style, like the world around her just kind of transforms with her. So, you know, in more realistic Daisies, I imagine more realistic versions of how she made that costume. And then more fantastical Daisies, I imagine she just exists in it and that's who she is in that world. Here's a quick little flip of everything we've done up to date. There's a lot of pieces in here. I've been spending a good chunk of time illustrating these. I have really been loving it. And, you know, it is not an ink challenge. It is not the October ink challenge. But I have to say, because I haven't done it that way, I've loved using pencil, and I get my blending stump out a few times just to put some shading in here and there. There's the Beatrix Potter inspired Fluffermizzle, the pop-up in a cup. I like that one. What else we got in here? A Scooter Nooternup. I love saying that. And I love her scooter. That one all tied together really well. A pepper tinsel on a flying pencil. That one was inspired by an older version of a Daisy. A Badabup. That's kind of obvious there. Chimpazip. That one I didn't like all the zip details. I like the whole thing, but the zip details were, I think, a bit of a miss for me. A striped Whippertip. That one's fun. Interesting proportions. A bulbous Porble on a Gremmy You saw these 3 come together in this video, and that's all I've got time for. I'll see you again in the next one. Bye.